Alrighty. Hello, everyone. There is one really important thing I want to emphasize before I get into today's training, and that is that we really need to get people into roles. I know I talked about it last week, but this week it's even more important. I would really like to have all of the roles assigned by this Monday, or at least the end of this meeting if possible. And if that does not happen, we may not proceed with CCDC. Let me put it this way: if we're not able to get people into roles by the end of next week, we will not continue. We will not carry on with this. Just because it doesn't seem, I'm very concerned about the attendance I'm getting for these practices. The recordings aren't getting a whole lot of views, just general things like that. I don't want to dedicate all this time to lecturing and creating resources if we don't actually have enough people to compete. So just throwing that out there. If you do not have a role, if you have questions, come see me. See me after today's lecture. Email me, send me a DM on Discord, say something in the CCDC channel, something. I need to hear from you. Any questions regarding that part? Any quick questions? All right, I'll be sure to put out something that's a lot more concrete on dates here soon, but at the very latest, it needs to be the end of next week that I have everyone set up, ready to go, and in roles, because the next training session I do will be a one-on-one training session. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump to it. So today we're going to be covering Linux packages and services, as you may have guessed by the homework videos that I assigned everyone last lecture. So let's go ahead and jump on to it. Alrighty, so the very first thing we're going to cover is what packages are. So Linux distributions install updates to core components and other kind of pieces of software from a centralized remote repository. This is kind of in contrast to Windows, where a lot of the times you'll go and download a random exe off a website and execute it and all that stuff. You don't do that with Linux. Instead, you're going to have this central point maintained by the Linux distribution, that contains all of its core software, all of its updates, all of that sort of thing, in a special thing called a package. It's basically a glorified zip file. And you manage all of these packages that are installed on your system with various command line tools. So we're going to kind of talk about two of the major distributions that you're going to see during CCDC and their package management tools first. So during CCDC, you're going to see two types of packages. One of them is used by the Debian distribution, its derivatives, such as Ubuntu. Those deb packages use a tool called apt-get for management. The other type of package is used by the Red Hat distribution and its derivatives, such as CentOS, Red Hat Linux, that sort of thing. They use the dnf-yum command line tool for management, and those files are in the name of name.rpm. So here's just kind of a brief overview of how to use apt-get to manage packages on a Debian system. Apt-get install name installs a package. Say, like if you wanted to install the Apache web server, you might do apt-get install Apache 2 or something similar to that. You can do remove to remove a package. You can do update to refresh the information from the remote repository, get a list of what the latest updates are, that sort of thing. Upgrade to upgrade your system to upgrade all the packages on your system to the latest version. Then we got a second command, apt-cache search, to search the whole package database, see what you can install, see what you have installed, versions, that sort of thing. If you want more details on how to exactly use apt-get, which you may need, you can use the Linux man pages by typing man8 apt at your terminal. You can easily Google apt-get. You get plenty of resources. And of course, depending on what role you get assigned, you'll obviously do some more training with this on your own. So obviously the next one is yum DNF. Red Hat. So several years ago, Red Hat's primary command line tool for managing RPM packages was yum. They've slowly begun to migrate over to DNF, which is just a new version of the tool with a different name. It acts pretty much the same. There are a few little quirks, but you shouldn't need to be too concerned about those during CCDC. You'll mainly see yum just because in CCDC, most of the environments are intentionally out of date and vulnerable. Kind of the same kind of flow as apt-get. You've got yum or DNF install name to install, remove to uninstall a package. The only main difference is upgrade. It combines the update and upgrade of apt-get into one command. So the upgrade command for yum DNF will both check the remote repository and upgrade packages on your system all at once. And of course, we've got the good old search command. Again, if you need exhaustive detail on yum or DNF, you can check it out by looking at the man pages in your terminal. There's also plenty of good resources if you were to Google it. So the next major part of Linux systems that we're going to be talking about is services. So programs on servers and things like that are managed using things called services, which is a program defined within the operating system's init system. A lot of vocab words there. I'm going to kind of explain what some of those are. So an init system is the very first program that's started on boot and manages the startup of the rest of the operating system. So when you first start up a computer and the init system gets started, it then makes sure that everything else gets started in the correct order with all of the resources it needs as the right users, all that sort of things. So again, we're doing the part of twos here. There are two major types of Linux init systems which are used to manage services. The very first one is the UNIX style init. It's the legacy init system. It's kind of an advanced topic. Not many of you during CCDC will need to touch this. If you do, I will talk to you in more depth about it during your one-on-one training. Excuse me. So it actually has three different commands as part of the system: service, Update-rc.d, and Chkconfig. Service, you're going to use it to start, stop, and check the status of services. So like if you wanted to start, stop, or check the status of a web server, you would use the service command. We've got Update-rc.d and Chkconfig. One of those is a Debian version, and the other is a Red Hat version. Those just manage what starts up when the system starts up. Again, that's getting into the more of the advanced topics that I would cover one-on-one. Just know it exists, and if you need to know it, like I said, I'll go over it during your one-on-one training. So the new way of doing things is called Systemd. That's kind of the modern way of doing things, which you're going to see most often. There is one command in Systemd, and that is Systemctl. So you'll use Systemctl start, stop, or status, and then the name of your service to start and stop programs such as Apache, NTP, SSH, that sort of thing. And as Systemctl enable, disable to prevent or make a service startup on boot. Systemd does a whole bunch of things. There's a lot of feature creep involved with it. On a lot of systems, it manages logs, home directories, networking, things like that. If you're interested in getting into Systemd in depth, I may do a lecture dedicated solely to it at a later date. Red Hat also has a lecture that they've given on a very nice lecture I've attended on just solely on Systemd and some of its features that I can also link to you if you are interested. All right, so if you all wanted to experiment with this a little bit, usually we'd use the CSLabs environment, but I don't believe that's operable at the moment. So if you had, say, a Debian or a CentOS VM and wanted to just try installing the Apache web server and using some of these service commands on Apache to just get a feel for the service commands and the package commands, that would be an awesome idea. So at this point, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions about the material I covered today and roles. Do we have any questions regarding any of the material? I know this is a little bit repetitive since I had you watch the videos in advance. I just wanted to kind of give a brief overview of what you all saw in the videos. Maybe a little bit of refresher, talk about some parts of it as it impacts CCDC specifically. But roles and questions about roles. Cooper, I know you're not in a role. Do you have anything in particular? Have you made any progress on that?
I've looked into them a little bit, but I'm still not really sure which one I'd want to do.
Okay. Just please try your very best to get that to me by Monday if you can. Just because we're running up on deadlines very soon.
Hey, Adam.
Hey.
You told me that the Debian database, that's basically MySQL?
Yes, it is MySQL, actually. It's just a Debian server with MySQL on it.
Okay. For the CCDC, we will be using the CSLabs, right? We don't have to use our own machines, the virtual machines or anything.
We will not be using CSLabs. We'll be using a environment provided by the competition. So no, you will not have to use any of your own hardware. You're just basically going to get a web, a terminal in your web browser.
Got it. Yes. Okay.
I currently do not have any questions at the moment.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, thank you all for attending. If you feel there's anything I've missed, anything you'd like to talk about, and especially any questions about roles, like I said, I will get you some more concrete dates out very, very shortly as for deadlines to when that needs to be done. It would be really, really great if, for those of you who have not told me a role that they need, if you could get me that to me by Monday, let me check the date here. If you could get that to me by Monday, the 21st, that would be awesome. But I definitely need them by the end of the week, which would be Sunday, the 27th. All righty. Thank you all.